The sky burned orange and red. Thick black smoke rose from the destroyed warships. The battlefield stretched for miles in every direction. Bodies lay everywhere. Some wore alien armor. Others wore human uniforms. The ground was wet with blood. Of different colors, the great battle had ended just 1 hour ago. Both sides had suffered terrible losses, but the alien empire believed they had won. Their commanders were already celebrating on the main ship. They were wrong. Deep in the valley, far from the celebrating commanders, an old alien warrior lay dying. His name was General Krathvin. He was a legend among his people. For 50 years, he had led armies across the galaxy. He had conquered 12 planets. He had never lost a single war. Until today, the general's body was massive. 8 feet tall, with thick gray skin. 4 arms that had crushed enemies for decades. But now, those powerful arms lay weak at his sides. Blue blood pooled. Beneath him, a human bullet had found the one gap in his ancient armor. It had pierced his second heart. He knew he was dying, and strangely, he felt at peace. The sound of footsteps made his eyes open. Someone was coming. The general's hand slowly moved toward his blade. Even dying, he was still a warrior. A young alien soldier appeared through the smoke. His name was Rin. He was barely 20 years old. His armor was too big for his thin body. His eyes were wide with fear and confusion. This was his first real battle. He'd survived, but he did not feel like a survivor. Rin saw the general and gasped. Everyone in the Empire knew General Krathvan. He was a hero, a symbol of alien power. Seeing him lying in blood was like watching a mountain crumble. General, Rin rushed forward and dropped to his knees. "Sir, I will call for help. The medics can save you." The general laughed weakly. It was a painful sound. Blood bubbled at the corner of his mouth. "No, young one," he said. His voice was rough, but calm. "No medic will come for me. Not anymore. But sir, you are the greatest warrior in our history. They must save you." The general looked at Rin with tired eyes. He saw himself in this young soldier, young, naive, full of wrong beliefs about the universe. "Tell me, boy," the general said slowly. "Do you think we won today?" Rin blinked in confusion. "Of course, sir." The commander said, "We destroyed the human forces. They are celebrating right now." The general closed his eyes and sighed deeply. The celebration, of course. The fools were celebrating. They understood nothing. "Look around you, Rin," the general whispered. "Look carefully at this battlefield. What do you see?" Rin looked around. He saw dead bodies, broken weapons, burning vehicles, smoke and destruction everywhere. "I see ... victory, sir." His voice was uncertain now. "No." The general's eyes snapped open. They burned with strange intensity. "You see a trap." We walked right into it. Fear crept into Rin's heart. "Sir, what do you mean?" The general grabbed Rin's arm with sudden strength. His grip was tight, desperate. Rin could feel the urgency flowing from the dying warrior. "Listen to me carefully, young soldier. What I am about to tell you may save your life someday. It may save our entire species." Rin leaned closer. His heart was beating fast now. "The humans," the general continued. "You think they are weak? You think they are primitive. Soft bodies, short lives, no claws, no armor, nothing special. Yes, sir. Everyone knows humans are inferior." The general laughed again, but this time his laugh was filled with something dark. Something like fear. "Everyone is wrong," he said. "Everyone is terribly, horribly wrong. And I am going to tell you the truth. The truth that our empire has hidden for 50 years. Rin swallowed hard. "What truth, sir?" The general pulled Rin closer until their faces were inches apart. His blue blood dripped onto Rin's armor. "Before I die," the general whispered, "I will tell you what humans really are. And when I finish, you will understand why I am not afraid of death. I am afraid of them." The smoke swirled around them. The distant sounds of celebration seemed foolish now. In this valley of death, under the burning sky, a dying legend was about to share his darkest secret. And young Rin's entire world was about to change forever. The general's eyes became cloudy. He was looking at something far away. Something only he could see. His mind was traveling back in time. 50 years into the past. Rin stayed silent. He could feel the weight of this moment. The dying warrior was about to share something important, something that had been buried for decades. 50 years ago, the general began, "I was young like you, strong, proud, stupid." He coughed. More blue blood came out. But he continued speaking. Time was running out. Our empire was expanding fast. We had conquered 11 species already. No one could stop us. We believed we were the greatest beings in the universe. The general's 4 hands slowly closed into fists. Memories were flooding back. Then our scouts found a small blue planet. It was located in a dangerous corner of the galaxy. The planet had violent weather, earthquakes, floods, volcanic eruptions, extreme temperatures, deadly creatures everywhere. Rin nodded. He had learned about such planets in his training. "A death world," Rin said quietly. "Yes, a death world." The general repeated the word with strange respect. "We sent probes to study it. What we found made us laugh." "Laugh, sir." "The dominant species on this planet had no natural weapons, no claws, no fangs, no thick skin, no venom. They could not run fast. They could not fly. They could not breathe underwater. They were small and soft." The general turned his head toward Rin. They called themselves humans. Rin had heard stories about humans. Every young soldier had. They were described as ugly creatures, weak and emotional, easy to defeat. "Our scientists studied them from orbit," the general continued. "They said humans were primitive, barely intelligent. They fought among themselves constantly. They destroyed their own environment. They seemed determined to kill their own species." A strange smile appeared on the general's bloody face. "We decided to conquer them. It would be easy, we thought. A simple mission. My commander called it a training exercise for new soldiers." The general laughed bitterly at the memory. 500 warships, 50,000 soldiers, our finest weapons, all sent to conquer a planet of soft, weak creatures. It should have taken 3 days. Rin leaned forward. "What happened, sir?" The general was quiet for a long moment. The only sound was his difficult breathing. When he spoke again, his voice was different, heavier. "Haunted, we landed on their largest continent, a place they called Asia. We expected them to run, to hide, to beg for mercy." His eyes grew dark with memory. "Instead, they came out to meet us. Thousands of them, walking toward our ships without fear. We aimed our weapons at them. They kept walking." Rin felt confused. Were they surrendering? "That is what we thought. Our commander ordered us to hold fire. He wanted to capture them alive, study them, use them as slaves." The general's voice dropped to a whisper. "They stopped 50 feet from our lines. One of them stepped forward. A female, small, old gray hair. She looked weak enough to break with one hand. What did she do? She smiled at us, a warm, friendly smile. Then she spoke in our language, perfectly, without any accent." Rin's eyes widened. "How did she know our language?" That is what we wondered. We had only arrived 2 hours before." Our language was unknown on this planet. Yet this old female spoke it like she was born speaking it. The general grabbed Rin's arm again. His grip was weaker now. She welcomed us to Earth. She offered us food and shelter. She said humans wanted peace and friendship. Her voice was gentle, kind, loving. That sounds ... good. Rin was confused. I watched her carefully as she spoke. The other soldiers relaxed. They lowered their weapons. They thought this conquest would be easy, peaceful even. The general pulled Rin closer, but I saw something. They missed. Something in her eyes. Behind the warm smile. Behind the gentle words. "What did you see, sir?" The general's voice became ice cold. I saw a predator studying its prey. She was not welcoming us. She was analyzing us. Learning our weaknesses, counting our soldiers, measuring our weapons. Rin felt a chill run down his spine. That old female was not afraid of 50,000 alien soldiers. She was not impressed by our warships. She looked at our entire invasion force like it was a small problem, an inconvenience. The general released Rin's arm. His strength was fading. I should have warned my commander that day. I should have told him to leave immediately. But I was young and foolish. I ignored my instincts. His eyes closed with regret. 3 days later, 20,000 of our soldiers were dead. Our finest commander was captured. And the humans. They had not even used their best weapons yet. Rin's mouth fell open. 20,000 in 3 days. The general opened his eyes one final time before the memory continued. That was just the beginning, young Rin. The humans were only warming up, and we had made the worst mistake any species could make. What mistake? The general's voice became heavy with horror. We had made them angry. The wind moved slowly across the broken field. Smoke still rose from the dead machines around them. General Krathman stared at the dark sky for a few seconds, then turned his weak eyes back toward Rin. The young soldier was waiting. He could feel that the next part of the story would be worse. The general spoke again, his voice low and heavy. At first, we still believed humans were disorganized animals. We thought their first attacks were luck. We told ourselves they were only desperate. But after the 3rd day, we understood something terrible. Rin said nothing. Krathvan looked past him, as if he could still see the old battlefield from 50 years ago. The humans changed. He took a slow breath. The smiling faces disappeared. The friendly voices vanished. The soft creatures we had seen near our landing ships were gone. In their place, something else stood before us. His jaw tightened. War had woken them. Rin felt cold. The general continued. Our first base on Earth was strong. It had energy shields, heavy cannons, air support, and enough supplies for 6 months. No primitive species should have been able to touch it, but the humans did not. Attack it like a weaker enemy. They attacked it like they had already seen 1,000 wars. How? Rin asked. Krathvan coughed, then answered. They studied everything. Every patrol route, every blind corner, every guard rotation, every signal pattern. They watched us day and night. They learned fast, too fast. He closed his eyes for a moment. On the 4th night, our power system failed for exactly 12 seconds. Only 12. It should not have mattered. But in those 12 seconds, humans entered the outer wall. Rin frowned. A small team. The general gave a weak, humorless laugh. That is what we thought. We sent 1 squad to remove them. That squad never returned. Then we sent 2 more. They found only blood, broken armor, and empty hallways. Rin swallowed. The humans were inside our base, the general said. But they did not rush. They moved slowly, quietly. They struck 1 room at a time, 1 hallway at a time. They made us afraid of shadows. The battlefield around them seemed even quieter now. They cut communication lines. They destroyed ammo storage. They poisoned food. They turned our own drones against us. By sunrise, half the base was burning, and no one knew where the enemy was. Rin looked down, but they had weaker weapons. Yes, Krathvin said. Their weapons were weaker. Their armor was weaker. Their ships were weaker, but their minds, ... He stopped and shook his head. Their minds were sharp like blades. He lifted one trembling hand and pointed at the ground. Humans do not need the strongest weapon. They only need one mistake, and every species makes mistakes. Rin had no answer. The general continued, his voice now full of memory and pain. I saw my first human soldier clearly on the 6th day. He was young, smaller than me, no natural armor, no battle enhancements, just cloth, metal plates, and 2 eyes full of fire. What did he do? Rin asked softly. He was hit by plasma fire in the shoulder. The wound should have dropped. Him, it did not. He kept moving. He threw himself through a broken wall, landed among 3 of our troops, and fought like a wild beast. The general's breathing became rougher. He broke one soldier's neck with his bare hands, took a rifle from another, used his last strength to destroy a control panel. Then he smiled. Rin asked. Krathvin nodded. He was bleeding badly. One arm was barely hanging from his body. But he smiled as if pain meant nothing. Then he said something in his language before he died. What did he say? The general looked at Rin. He said, "That should slow you down." Rin felt his chest tighten. Krathvin gave a dry laugh. He died happy because he had cost us time. That was the moment I began to understand them. Humans do not always fight to survive. Sometimes they fight to make sure you do not. Far above them, a ruined ship groaned as metal shifted in the heat. The general went on. Then came the city battles. Those were worse, much worse. He looked tired now, but he forced himself to speak. In open ground, our armies still had some advantage. In cities, we had none. Humans knew every street, every tunnel, every rooftop. Children carried messages. Old men built bombs. Doctors treated the wounded by day and became snipers at night. Rin was shocked. Even their civilians fought. Krathvin's eyes hardened. On Earth, the line between civilian and soldier became very thin. He coughed again. More blue blood ran down his neck. One human female still visits my dreams. She looked fragile, thin, covered in dust and ash. She carried a wounded child in one arm and a weapon in the other. My soldiers cornered her in a ruined hospital. Rin leaned closer. They told her to surrender. She placed the child behind. A broken wall kissed the child's forehead, then turned and charged. The general's voice became almost a whisper. She knew she would die. She attacked anyway. She killed 2 trained soldiers before the 3rd one shot her through the chest. Rin stared in silence. When we searched her body, Krathvin said, "We found no military rank, no soldier mark. She was a teacher." The words stayed between them like a weight. "A teacher," Rin repeated. "Yes," said the general. "A teacher." That was when fear entered my heart for the first time. If even their teachers fought like that, then what kind of species had we invaded? The young soldier looked around the battlefield, now seeing human bodies with different eyes. Krathvin watched him carefully. "That was the awakening," the general said. "That was when I learned the truth. Humans are dangerous when armed. They are dangerous when wounded. They are dangerous when dying." He paused, but the worst moment had not come yet. Rin's throat felt dry. What happened next? The general's eyes darkened. The humans stopped defending their world. He took one final breath before continuing. They started hunting us. The words hung in the air like smoke. They started hunting us. Rin felt his stomach tighten. Until this moment, he had believed war was simple. One army attacked, the other defended. One side won, the other lost. But General Krathven's story was showing him a different truth. Humans did not think like other species. The old general looked weak now, but his eyes were still sharp. They carried the memory of fear, and that fear was real. At first, Krathven said, "We believed we could still recover. We had lost soldiers, yes, but our empire had survived worse battles." Our commanders kept saying the humans were only using desperate tricks. They believed Earth would break soon. He gave a bitter smile. Earth did not break. It changed. Rin stayed silent. The humans stopped meeting us in large numbers. The general continued. They stopped wasting lives in direct battles. They learned where our strength was, and then they moved around it. They became ghosts. He turned his head and looked at the ruined battlefield around them. One day, a supply convoy vanished. 10 armored transports, 50 guards. Gone, no distress call, no explosion, nothing. We searched for 2 days and found them hidden inside a mountain pass. What happened to them? Rin asked. Krathven's jaw hardened. The humans had dragged the vehicles off the road, covered them with broken stone, and waited. Every soldier inside was dead. Not from heavy weapons, from knives, from wire. From silent kills in the dark. Rin felt a cold wave pass through him. They attacked without sound. He asked. Yes, the general said. They understood something very quickly. We relied on sensors, shields, and firepower. But sensors can be fooled. Shields can face only one direction at a time. Firepower means nothing if the enemy is already standing behind you. He coughed, and blood ran down his chin. Every week, we lost more troops. Patrols vanished. Scouts disappeared. Outposts went silent. We would enter a building and find it empty, then hear a noise behind us. By the time we turned, someone was already dead. Rin looked at the ground. The humans were not stronger than us, Krathven said. That made it worse. They were proving they did not need strength. He closed his eyes and spoke more softly. That was when I first heard the name Sarah. Chen. Rin looked up again. She was one of their commanders, the general said. A human female, young by our standards. Too young, I thought, to be dangerous. I was wrong. His voice became heavy with memory. She had once been a civilian engineer, not a born soldier, not a great warrior from some famous bloodline. Just an engineer. She repaired machines, built systems, solved problems. He let out a dry laugh that should have warned us. Engineers think in strange ways. They do not only ask how something works, they ask how to break it. Rin listened closely. We captured her during a raid, the general continued. She was injured and unconscious. Our commanders were pleased. They thought she would reveal human codes, weapon plans, hidden bases. They brought her to an interrogation center. The old general's face darkened. She said nothing. For how long? Rin asked. 28 days. Rin blinked, without speaking. She spoke, Krathven said. Never. About what we wanted, she insulted our officers. She mocked our empire. She laughed at threats. She even smiled when they hurt her. The young soldier shifted uncomfortably. One officer asked her why she kept smiling. The general said. Do you know what she answered? Rin shook his head. Krathven looked directly into his eyes. She said, because every minute you waste on me is a minute my people use to prepare your funeral. A silence followed. Then the general continued. She escaped on the 29th night. Rin stared. Escaped. From an interrogation center? Krathven nodded. She used a broken food tray to cut through a restraint cable. Then she waited for a guard to enter. She took his weapon, disabled the cameras, and disappeared into the storm outside. By morning, 3 towers had exploded, and our communication grid in that region was dead. Rin could not hide his shock. She returned to command within a week, the general said. Stronger than before, not because her body healed, it had not, but because the humans saw what had been done to her, and they became even more dangerous. He breathed slowly, forcing the next words out. She led a strike against 3 of our landing carriers. Not with battleships, not with advanced cannons. With weather. Rin frowned. Weather? Krathven nodded. She studied our systems and learned that our ships were vulnerable to Earth's magnetic storms. She waited until the sky was full of lightning. Then, her teams placed small signal devices across the hills. The storm hit, our shields flickered, and her hidden missiles rose from underground. His voice trembled. In less than 6 minutes, 3 carriers were burning in the sky. Rin looked horrified. The general gave a weak smile that held no joy. That was the day I understood the human mind. They do not ask, can we beat the enemy in a fair fight? They ask, what can we use? Heat, darkness, fear, gravity, time. For humans, everything is a weapon. The wind moved around them again. Somewhere in the distance, metal crashed. Krathven's eyes slowly returned to the present battlefield. But the fear from old memories remained. We had come to conquer a species, he said. Instead, we had awakened a people that could turn an entire world against us. Rin swallowed hard. And Sarah Chen. The general looked toward the smoke-covered horizon. She was not their strongest warrior, he said. That is what still terrifies me. He paused for one long breath. She was only one human with a reason to fight. Then his voice dropped even lower, and soon we learned what happens when humans have something stronger than reason. Rin leaned closer. What is stronger than reason? The general's eyes became dark and distant again. Adrenaline, he whispered, and rage. The word stayed in Rin's mind. Adrenaline, he had heard it before in training, but only as a medical term. A body chemical, a short emergency response. Nothing special, nothing worthy of fear, but when General Krathven said the word, said it like it was the name of a weapon. The old warrior took a slow, painful breath. His chest rose, then fell unevenly. Still, he forced himself to continue. Young soldier. He said, many species in the galaxy become weaker when badly wounded. Pain slows them. Fear freezes them. Their bodies protect them by shutting them down. Rin nodded. That was normal. That was logical. Krathven's eyes narrowed. Humans are not logical in war. The wind pushed ash across the ground between them. When a human is cornered, General said, the body sometimes releases powerful chemicals. One of them is called adrenaline. It kills fear for a short time. It dulls pain. It pushes the muscles harder than they should go. It can keep a human moving even when the body should collapse. Rin frowned. That sounds dangerous. It is, Krathven said. For everyone nearby.
No.
He looked up at the red sky, as if he could still see the battle where he first learned this truth. It happened during the siege of a human mountain. Fortress. We had trapped nearly 400 humans inside. No food. No way out. Their outer walls were broken. Their defense guns were silent. Victory seemed certain. Rin listened carefully. Our commander gave them one final offer. Surrender, and some might live. Refuse, and all would die. The general gave a dry laugh. The human answer came in the form of a single shot. Rin blinked. They refused. They refused, Krathven said. Then they opened the gates. Rin stared at him in shock. They attacked from inside a siege. Yes, into superior numbers, into direct fire. The general shook his head slowly. It was madness. His voice became darker, but it was human madness. He coughed, then continued. I saw them, running down the slope, men and women, some in armor, some with no armor at all. Some were already wounded before they even reached us. One had his arm tied with a cloth to stop bleeding. Another had a damaged leg brace and still moved faster than our front line expected. Rin's throat felt dry. They screamed as they charged, Krathven said. Not from fear, from force. From rage, it was as if they were trying to shake the sky itself. The young soldier looked around the battlefield again. Human bodies now seemed less like corpses and more like warnings. One of them, the general said, was struck in the side by plasma. A wound like that should have dropped him instantly. Instead, he turned, grabbed the barrel of the weapon. That shot him, burned his own hand, and pulled the shooter close enough to break his face shield with his head. Rin's eyes widened. He should have been dead, Krathven said, but he fought for 11 more seconds. Only 11, Rin asked. The general stared at him. In battle, 11 seconds can decide the fate of hundreds, Rin said. Nothing after that. Krathven shifted slightly, fighting through pain. Another human, a female medic, was carrying supplies when our artillery hit her unit. She was thrown into stone. Her shoulder broke. Her ears were bleeding. Still, she did not run. She crawled through fire to reach 2 injured soldiers. The general's voice grew quiet. She gave one of them pain medicine, used her own body to shield the other from debris. Then, when our troops entered the breach, she picked up a fallen rifle and shot until the weapon overheated. Rin whispered, a medic. Krathvan nodded. On Earth, even the healers can become killers. When they must. The young soldier lowered his eyes. That battle taught us a terrible lesson, the general said. Wounding a human does not always remove them from the fight. Sometimes it makes them worse. He paused. But that was still not the moment. That truly changed me. Rin looked up quickly. There was more. The old general's expression became hard, almost ashamed. Yes, there was one human, a single soldier. I still remember his face. The wind moved softly through the wreckage. He was not large, not famous. His armor was damaged. His weapon was gone. I found him near a broken wall after the main fighting ended. I believed he was alone. Krathven's fingers tightened against the dirt. I stepped toward him and offered surrender. He looked at me, then at the bodies behind me. His friends. His people. Then he looked back at me. The general's voice dropped low. There was no fear in his eyes, only hate. Rin felt his heartbeat rise. I told him the battle was over, Krathven said. I told him he had lost. The old warrior let out a weak breath. He smiled. Rin felt cold again. Why? Because, Krathven said, humans do not always measure victory the same way we do. He stared into the distance. The soldier rushed me with only a combat knife. I was larger, armored, and fully armed. I blocked the first strike easily. Then I drove my blade into his chest. Rin flinched. That should have ended it, the general said. But it didn't. Krathven slowly shook his head. No. For a moment, fear returned to his face with full force, as if the memory was alive. The human looked down at the blade in his chest. Then he stepped forward. Rin stopped breathing for a second. He pushed himself deeper onto the weapon. The general whispered, just to get closer to me. Ash drifted across the ground. With blood on his mouth, he grabbed my neck armor and said, Now you're in reach. Rin's eyes were wide. He struck me 3 times before his body finally gave up. One blow cracked my lower armor. One damaged my breathing tube. The last one nearly took my eye. The general touched the old scar near his face. That was the first time I understood the real danger of humans. Pain is not always a wall to them. Sometimes it is a door. The words settled heavily between them. Rin did not know what to say. Krathvan looked at him with fading strength. "You asked me once what humans truly are," he said. "They are a species that can turn fear into fury, wounds into momentum, and death into one final attack." He coughed again, weaker now, and still. "Even that is not the worst thing about them." Rin leaned closer. "Then what is?" The old general's eyes became hollow with memory. "The worst thing," he whispered, "is what happens when you give them a reason to remember your name." Rin did not answer at once. The battlefield around them felt colder now, even under the burning sky. Smoke drifted through broken machines and dead bodies. In the distance, metal cracked and fell. But near the dying general, the world felt still. Krathman's breathing had become slow and uneven. Every few words cost him effort. Yet when he spoke again, his voice carried a deeper fear than before. "The worst thing about humans," he said, "is not their strength, not their speed, not even their madness in battle." Rin watched him closely. "It is their memory." The old general's eyes moved toward the horizon. His face looked less like a warrior now, and more like a witness. Someone who had seen too much and lived too long with it. "Many species forget," Krathvan said. "After a war ends, they rebuild. They hide their pain. They move on. Humans do rebuild, but they do not forget." Rin felt a chill. "They carry loss inside them." The general continued. "A dead parent, a ruined home, a burned city, a child who never came back. They carry these things for years, sometimes for life." He turned his head slowly and looked at Rin. "And if they decide that you caused that pain, they will remember your face even when your own people forget your name." Rin swallowed. "You mean revenge?" Krathvan gave a weak nod. "Yes, but human revenge is not simple anger. It is patient, cold, careful. It can wait." The wind moved ash over the ground between them. After the first years of war on Earth, the general said, "Our empire made a terrible choice. We attacked a civilian colony. It was not a military target. It held families, workers, and children. The commanders believed this would crush human morale." He shut his eyes for a second, as if even speaking of it was painful. It did the opposite. Rin lowered his gaze. Even he knew such a strike was shameful. "We killed over 10,000 humans," Krathvan said quietly. "We thought fear would spread across their world. We thought they would beg for peace." His mouth twisted with bitter disgust. Instead, every survivor changed. He coughed hard. Blood stained his lips again, but he forced the next words out. "Some joined the war the very next day. Some built weapons. Some became spies. Some spent years learning everything they could about our officers, our ships, our habits, our families, our supply routes." Rin looked up. "Families." Krathvan's expression hardened. "Humans understand where pain lives. If they are cruel, they can strike their. If they are merciful, they can stop just before it. That is why they are dangerous. They know the difference." The general took another painful breath. One human male lost his wife and 2 daughters in that colony attack. He had never been a soldier before. He had worked in agriculture. Quiet life, no combat record, no command rank. Rin waited. "He disappeared after the attack," Krathvan said. "For 7 years, no one heard his name. Our empire forgot him. We assumed he had died." The old warrior's eyes darkened. He had not died. He had studied. Rin said nothing. "He learned our language, our systems, Our star maps. He joined merchant crews under false names. He moved from world to world like a shadow. He gathered information. He followed the officers responsible for the colony strike. The general's hand pressed weakly into the dirt. One by one, those officers began to die. Rin stared. He killed them all. Not quickly, Krathwin said. Not carelessly. He waited for years when he had to. One officer died. When his shuttle failed during launch, another was found poisoned inside a locked room. A third disappeared from a guarded station and was later discovered drifting in space with a human message burned into his armor. Rin's heart beat harder. What message? The general's voice dropped almost to a whisper. You were remembered. Silence followed. Even the wind seemed to stop. Krathvin looked toward the bodies scattered across the field. That is what humans do. They remember. They write names. They keep records. They tell stories to their children. They pass pain forward until someone answers it. Rin asked carefully, Did they ever find that man? The general laughed once, weakly. Find him. Young soldier, by the time we understood the pattern, he was already near the last target. Rin looked at him more closely. The last target. Krathvin gave a faint smile with no joy in it. Was me. Rin froze. The old warrior did not look away. Yes, he said. I gave the order that day. I signed the command. I told myself. It was strategy. I told myself civilians meant nothing if victory was the prize. His eyes became distant and filled with something close to shame. I was wrong. Rin spoke softly. Did he come for you? Krathvon nodded once. Many times, bombs, snipers, hacked systems, poison in supply chains. He failed again and again, but he never stopped. Not for 10 years, not for 20. He crossed stars to hunt one old soldier. The young alien could barely breathe now. Then, today, the general said, during this battle, I saw him. Rin leaned closer. Here, yes. Older now. Gray at the sides of his hair. Scars on his face, but the same eyes. Calm, focused. Empty in a way that only long grief can make. Them. Krathvin looked down at the wound in his armor. The bullet inside me came from his rifle. Rin stared at the wound, then back at the general. You know what is strange, Krathvin said. When I saw him, I did not feel hatred. I felt understanding. He coughed again, weaker than before. I had taken everything from him. He gave his whole life to one purpose, to remember me until the day I fell. Rin's voice shook. Is he still here? The general looked out across the smoke and broken steel. Maybe, watching, waiting to see if I finally die. He let out a thin breath, and honestly, he has earned that right. The old warrior turned back to Rin one more time. So listen carefully. If you harm humans, they may fight you. If you corner humans, they may kill you. But if you give humans a reason to remember you, he paused, each word now heavy and final. They will follow you to the edge of the galaxy. Rin's mouth was dry. Then today. This battle? Krathvin's eyes became sharp for one last moment. This battle is not over, he whispered. That is the final lesson. Rin looked around in sudden fear. What do you mean? The general's breathing turned thin. We did not win today, he said. The humans wanted us here. Rin felt his blood run cold. The humans wanted us here. For a moment, he thought the dying general was confused. The old warrior had lost too much blood. His body was failing. Maybe his mind was failing too. But then Rin looked into General Krathven's eyes. There was no confusion there, only certainty. The battlefield around them suddenly felt different. The dead machines, the broken armor, the bodies lying still in the smoke. All of it looked less like the end of a battle and more like the silence before another one. Rin turned his head and scanned the valley. "Sir, what do you mean they wanted us here?" Krathvan forced air into his damaged lungs. His voice was weaker now, but every word struck hard. "Look carefully," he said. "Do not look like a soldier who wants victory. Look like prey that finally understands the trap." Rin's chest tightened. He stood slowly and looked across the field again. At first, he saw the same things as before: human bodies, burned tanks, destroyed drones, craters in the earth. Nothing more than he noticed something strange. One of the human bodies was too clean. Its uniform was covered in dirt and blood, but the blood was in the wrong places, too even, too perfect. Another body near a broken machine had no flies around it. A third had fallen face down, but the fingers were pressed into the ground as if ready to move. Rin looked back at the general, horrified. "They're not all dead." He whispered. "Krath, single quotes." Van gave the smallest nod. "No," he said. "Not all." The young soldier's mouth went dry. "How many?" "I do not know," the general answered. "Enough." A low sound rolled through the air. Not thunder. Not artillery. Something deeper. Rin looked toward the distant clouds, but the sky gave him no answer. "The battle was too easy," Krathvan said. "That should have been my first warning. Humans never spend lives without purpose. If they lose ground, they gain something else: time, position, information. If they bleed, they make sure the blood buys them something." Rin's hands began to shake. "Our commanders said the human defense line collapsed." Krathvan let out a weak, painful breath that almost sounded like a laugh. "Collapsed? No, it bent. There is a difference." He looked toward the smoke-covered ridge. "They pulled us into the valley. Narrow walls, poor sensor range. Wreckage everywhere. Too much metal in the ground. Too much heat in the air. The perfect place for ships above to lose clear readings." Rin suddenly understood. "For reinforcements," he said. "Yes," the general whispered. "For the real attack." The low sound came again. Louder this time. Rin looked up. Small dark shapes were moving behind the clouds. Ships, human ships. His legs nearly gave way beneath him. "They're here." He breathed. The general closed his eyes for 1 second, then opened them again. "Right?" On time, a sharp crack broke the silence. Then another, then 5 more. Across the battlefield, several dead human bodies moved at once. One rolled behind a piece of wreckage and raised a hidden weapon. Another tore away a false blood pack from its chest. A third rose from the dirt like a ghost returning to life. Rin stumbled backward. "They played dead," said yes. Krathvan replied. "Humans do not worship honor the way our empire does. They worship survival. If pretending to be dead wins the war, they will lie still for hours." Blaster fire suddenly lit the valley. Alien soldiers in the distance screamed in shock as hidden humans opened fire from among the corpses and debris. Rin could hear confusion spreading through the ranks. Orders were shouted. Then new screams cut them apart. The general did not look. Surprised, "This is what they do," he said. "They let pride blind the enemy. Then they strike when the enemy starts celebrating." Above them, the first human ships descended through the smoke. They were not the biggest ships Rin had ever seen. They were not the most beautiful either. Their surfaces were scarred and patched, but they moved with terrible purpose. Dropships fell from their bellies like steel rain. Rin looked around wildly. "We have to call command. Command already." "Knows," Krathvan said, "and they will already be too late." A blast shook the ground. Dirt and ash rained over them, In the chaos, Rin turned back to the old general. "Why are you telling me this? Why me?" Krathvin looked at the frightened young soldier with fading but steady eyes. "Because you are still young enough to learn," he said, "and maybe still wise enough to survive." More human troops were landing now, fast, organized. Calm, they moved through smoke as if they had walked this ground. 100 times already, Rin could hear alien defenses failing. One by one, the general lifted one trembling hand and grabbed the front of Rin's armor. His grip was weak, but desperate. "Listen to me," he said. "This is the truth your empire refuses to understand." Rin bent down close. "Humans are not the strongest species," Krathvin whispered. "They are not the fastest. They are not the smartest in every field, but they have something far more dangerous." Rin's eyes filled with fear. "What?" The general's voice dropped to its final strength. "They refuse to stay broken." The words struck harder than any weapon. Krathvin's grip loosened, then tightened one last time. "Never judge them by soft skin," he said. "Never mistake kindness for weakness. Never hurt the ones they love. And never, ever believe a human war is over just because the battlefield grows quiet." Rin felt tears burning in his eyes, though he did not understand why.